Oh my god, are you connected? I'm totally connected. Let's talk about all the announcements and updates with Death Stranding 2. It's going to be awesome. Alright, guys, thanks for joining me on the new video. We're going to talk about the two trailers basically for Death Stranding. The original one that had come out before, and then the new one from State of Play that came out recently, as well as some references from Hideo Tube, which should be fun and interesting. So let's switch on over to the discussion cave. All right, so this is going to be the first trailer, which it was just called DS2 working title. It wasn't called Death Stranding on the Beach, and this was released pretty much a year ago with just a little bit of references here and there. So we're going to look over each portion. I'm going to talk about it in detail and then also maybe kind of do some theory crafting and stuff. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see where this lies. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, interesting enough, this little toy here, the little dolphin thing, actually does pop up in the new trailer from we assume Lou's point of view. But it's crazy because it's a direct connection, and of course the theme with Kojima is everything is connected. And even though there's the question of like, should we have connected and whatnot, I'm sure the theme of it is still going to be the same for this. But yeah, this has got to be the same device, which is what probably a toy that's for Lou, like a walker. Now, interesting enough, it does show the years of 1 and 2, so it looks like it's going to be about 2.5 years that take place for this particular sequence, which I bet there's going to be some time jumps along the way when we kind of connect these two trailers. Let that yawn out. And of course, this is the coffin that Higgs is in that actually is revealed later on, and it's also revealed in the other trailer from these different type of soldiers. Now keep in mind, I'm not sure if these soldiers or these folks are actually the same cybernetics that pop up and guard him and kind of do his bidding that ends up getting slaughtered by the big huge thing with the sword, but who knows, it could be. I will hold you. So interesting enough, this has got to be, I think everyone assumes this is Lou, and you know what, it probably is from the first one. And then of course Fragile, and we're seeing her actually all somewhat restored and whatnot. Because remember from the first game, she actually ran through into the time fall and aged everything from, basically neck to toe. But she doesn't look that way, at least here, at least that we could see here. But she's playing with Lou, so I'm thinking probably at the end of the first one, if you've ever played it, obviously Fragile is watching Lou, and I assume that either there's some relationship, maybe there could be more of a friendship, maybe more than that with Sam Porter Bridges, and he's probably out, I would assume, doing deliveries, probably the thing that he still does most. Even though he hates it, he's known for it, he's got a reputation for it. So I think he's going to be, that's why he's missing in this particular trailer. And protect you. So let love warm you. So the cool thing is the pod, and if we go back to it, and it looks like they're hearing the disturbances, but the pod is no longer being used because he doesn't need BB to detect things. And of course he has dooms, so he could detect BTs when he's doing it. So it's just looks like it's just a furniture piece in this sense, which is really cool, by the way. So the other thing to keep in mind too, when it reveals like Drawbridge, the new ship that kind of moves around, this is not it. This has got to be a delivery kind of point, or a delivery oh, shoot, what's it called? Just one of those delivery houses that he goes to with the console. I don't know why I can't think of it off the top of my head, but basically a shelter that's under the ground. We know that for a fact in this point because this is not an underwater ship or anything like that, like the drawbridge.
Close your tired eyes and I'll wait. And soon I'll see your smile in a dream. Baby, don't worry, it's okay.
The crazy thing is,
I'll always be with you.
I can't tell if that's Mads Mikkelsen's voice or I think it's Higgs or Troy Baker. It basically is played by Higgs, or played by Troy Baker as Higgs. So we already know that Cliffy's not going to show up. Hideo Kojima already mentioned that he's not in this particular game. At least he could be saying that also to cause diversion. You can never take it at full value. But I always kind of thought to myself if that was Mads Mikkelsen or not. I don't think it is. I think it is Troy Baker, but I need to listen a little closer on it.
And I still hear your heartbeat.
So before we move further with this, there's two things obviously we're seeing here. We're seeing humans, not the cybernetic soldiers here. Now, that's not 100% confirmed that, it's not Higgs's troops, but I think we're kind of being led a little bit, misdirection. I don't think these are the guys that are being led by Higgs. I think it's being led by somebody else, and I think there's more evidence to the contrary in that, but we'll look at it more. But I think this entire sequence this is my theory craft, and we'll get to part of it, but my assumption here is that this is where we see the end of Lou, where Lou is no longer of a normal. It's going to break my heart too if that's the case, but I have a strong belief that this is a sequence where we see the end of Lou becoming a BT, and him as a BT, he's going to be on a certain beach that I think that Sam Porter Bridges is going to be able to visit to see him in the flesh, while he gets to carry him around in the pod as a BT slash, kind of underwater type of thing. But we'll get to that in the next part of the trailer. But I think sincerely that I don't think Lou's going to go out just based on this little accident. I think there will be either someone's going to take him away execution style or something. I have a hard time believing that we would actually see a full execution of something so small and tiny and so important to the first game. Maybe I'm hoping it'll be just kind of off screen where, Lou becomes a BT later and, Sam actually ends up going to his beach and seeing him. Just kind of like Heartman does, trying to find his family. I bet you he tries to do a successful method to find Lou that way. But anyway, that's my theory so far. So we'll see how it goes as it comes up. But we'll talk a bit more. But yes, right here, this is where I think, and even in the new trailer, the new state of play, this is where I think Lou's going to end up showing up, where Lou's in the pod and Sam's going to carry him around just to keep him. And we see a little bit of this shot here, mainly because he does have the pod with him in the new state of play. but I think Lou's going to be in there to keep, obviously Sam the best way possible connected in the sense because it's all connections. That's right. Where he'll help out Sam in different way with different powers and gameplay. At least that's my thoughts, which is again theory crafting here. But this is where I get so excited about this stuff because it's just so cool. But anyway, we'll keep going.
Baby, don't worry. It's okay.
No one should have to suffer such loss. You know, I meant it when I said I understand how you feel. But if you hold on to the sadness, it will weigh you down like an anchor.
So here's what I'm thinking. It's a bit more theoretical, but as you see here, Fragile is in different clothing. She's a little bit more positive and confident and everything. So I think what happens is on that first portion when Lou ends up being transferred over, they separate. And either Sam finds Lou and still kind of getting his way around, and Fragile separates to try to do her own thing because I'm sure that causes a big disruption. But I think in that time period, whatever that time jump is, she's creating a crew. She's bringing the drawbridge thing together, and that is going to be the new thing that's going to be part of the gameplay mechanic for this. That's what I'm thinking, because I think this part here is when Fragile comes out and shows Sam, hey, it's time for you to hit the road. Let's start connecting the world, because that's where I think we're going with connections. Obviously, we're not on the same continent. And in the Hideo tube with Hideo Kojima, he even mentions that they're on different continents now. So I think this is when she elicits Sam's help. They reconnect as kind of a family unit, per se, but also for them to get the band together, basically, and connect the world. That's what I'm thinking this part is. So I think some time has passed from Lou's transition over to Lou being in that beach and being a BT in this particular world in the pod. And yeah, this is when Fragile's convincing Sam at this point.
Come meet my crew, Sam.
What's crazy is everybody didn't catch it, and even I didn't catch it either. As you see Fragile in this trailer, she's got the hands as well, the second hands that are there that was covered up as a mask for in the next trailer in State of Play. But obviously we didn't really see it much, so a lot of folks didn't catch it.
It's time for you to hit the road and start a new journey.
Yeah, again, I think it's them eliciting his help in this one.
The UCA that made the final decision. It was APAC, a private corporation.
So let love warm you till the morning.
And of course, this hasn't changed. This is Higgs, obviously being played by the talented Mr. Troy Baker himself as a voiceover, and Fragile obviously being played by Leah Sadoy, and then Norman Reedus playing Sam, which is really great that they're all in it together. But again, this is that scene that we're going to see more of in the new State of Play trailer with him. He actually had his mask off for this section, but for this part, he's got it on with his guitar. So they might have made a little bit of a change there with the soldiers in the background. but of course, his ultimate little guitar weapon, guitar axe. That I always think about that PlayStation 1 with Jack Black, and I always forget what that one is. But yeah, he's got that going on with his own detection suit, and it looks like he's even got more little BT stuff on the little plates that he's got in the front. So. Should we have see? That's I'm 100% on board. I think that's Lou as a BT in there. All right, now that we've dove into that, let's talk about this one. Now, obviously, the captain there is being played by, I think it's George Miller. That's what Hideo Kojima mentioned. He's the director of Mad Max. And then Leah Sadoy, who's got the hands covering her face as part of the mask. Because she's got the same stuff when I'm theorizing that's when she's actually trying to elicit Sam Porter Bridges in. And, as part of their crew and as part of Drawbridge. Everybody's talking about this cat. It's so cool. I mean, there must be a mix between kind of the BT realm and these things, because look at that thing. Just look at it. It's kind of cool and crazy. The other thing too is, sorry, I jumped ahead even, and I'll rewind it. Hideo Kojima even mentioned in the Hideo Tube, if you've watched that this is actually Ellie Fanning's character, who they're keeping super secret. There's a chance that, and people were theorizing that this is a someone that's like, basically the person that was Lou in the beginning, and it's not, obviously. My theory is, and I'll touch on it some more as we kind of go through, my theory is that this is Mama's child, but we'll keep watching. Okay, so theory time. So on the Hideo Tube YouTube channel in the video, Hideo Kojima does mention that this substance is a timefall-like substance when he was referring and talking about this, which is cool. I think, because he didn't really say, yes, this is timefall, I think this is necrosis, because obviously it's a tar-like looking thing. It causes kind of the timefall type of thing, especially onto Fragile. So my theory for this is that they have found a way to take someone back who has killed over but haven't exploded or died from the BTs, causing massive chaos and destruction, that they've died through the use of necrosis, and they're bringing them back. I think this is what they're doing with Ellie Fanning's character, which, again, I'm theorizing that this is Mama's child, that they were able to rescue her from a beach and bring this person back from their beach into the real world so that they could bring him back to life. Now, on the same token, I think they kind of did that in some way with Higgs. I think Higgs, this is far-fetched, and I have no way to substantiate, but it would just make a lot of sense, and it would make an interesting story type if Higgs, something bad happened to him. Obviously, and he talks about how he gave up the rope and he went with the stick when he's talking to Sam later on in this thing. But I think something happened to Higgs where either he perished or close to being perished, being ultimately consumed by the BTs, which is why he's in that coffin in the first place and why he's got all the BT wear that you're kind of seeing. But that's my theory. It would be way cool if they connected this to Ellie Fanning's character, if she was Mama's child and came back and kind of grown up a little bit from her own beach and then came back into this world helping them, being elicited. So it's quite a theory. I know it's crazy, but it would be so badass if that was the case. This is the type of stuff I love. Now, this little thing does have a name. I forget what it was off the top of my head. What was interesting, though, in the Hideo Tube, when Hideo Kojima was talking about this, is he mentioned this little device is not only has the ability to transport and teleport through the chiral network, but also be able to go through time. So who knows what type of changes and what type of things you could do with this thing if it could go through time. And the question is, who's controlling it? Obviously, it's an assumption that it would be Sam's crew that's controlling it, but it may not be. It may be a third party. Maybe it's APAC, maybe it's something else, and who knows what type of influence that can happen.
Welcome to Drawbridge, Sam.
So the interesting thing is the color palette, and I've heard everyone say it, and even my brother-in-law mentioned it when they saw this, because I thought it was just kind of like, you know, a weird kind of color thing that's happening. I think this is a method to eradicate and make sure there's no BT essence or time fall that can cause problems. I think it's a field underneath the drawbridge being able to do it, but I haven't heard really much about it. I can't imagine this would be something they just forgot to do for the trailers, even though it's kind of like an MVP, like this is a vertical slice of the game. But I can't imagine that I feel like this is intentional, that there's some connection here. Like, it's kind of like, you know, you have the BOW gas in Resident Evil where it prevents biological weapons from doing stuff. Maybe this is to prevent BT or necrosis from living in the drawbridge and preventing it from happening. This is my thoughts, though, on that.
And to the GHV Magellan, our mobile base of operations. Come on, I'll help you get your bearings. This is the ship's armory.
So when she makes statements like that, it makes it seem like this is past the point of where he was illicit help, that basically he was trying to help in something and something came up when he woke up to get his bearings, but I think he was saved and repatriated or something. So I think this is more of an introduction of why he's into being connected and fully part of the crew now. And yeah, I think there's some big event that obviously was happening and played into this that caused this to start. So
Here you can check your weapons and put them through their paces. These rooms over here belong to other members of the crew. They're pretty much the same as yours. And the shower's down at the end.
This is one hell of a ship you got here. Courtesy of the UCA, I'm guessing.
No. As I told you, Drawbridge is a civilian outfit.
yeah, so that means with Die Hard Man not even making an appearance or anything, I think even though, yeah, Drawbridge is a civilian outfit, they separate from the UCA because of something. Either the UCA gets destroyed again by another terrorist attack. Maybe they just have a falling out because, usually the good of the government, usually in the first one, or good of the organization in the first one, sometimes falters in the second. So maybe they go a direction kind of like, Foxhound, like in Metal Gear, where they kind of turn and do their own thing, right? So that's what I'm thinking here. I think that this org is just kind of by itself, and they're kind of doing their own separate thing, obviously, because the UCA has either gone a different way or a little too hardcoring the connection. And who knows, maybe they don't give a crap about connecting with the rest of the world. There's no telling what might have happened politically. Like, Hideo Kojima's really big on, even with the, Metal Gear Solid games, with the political struggles in addition to the, religious, moral, or any sort of traditional morals that you run into as an individual. So who knows? APAC's another organization that maybe they're at ends with the UCA. So I think there's a different direction here, and obviously these guys are a third party, and I'm sure there's a fourth and fifth party around with it as well.
But we do have a generous patron with access to plenty of capital and tech.
See, the patron, plenty of capital and tech, yeah. UCA big shot.
Sounds like a UCA big shot.
Don't ask me. We've never met face to face.
So it's an anonymous donator, is what I'm hearing, for the Drawbridge civilization, or it's for the Drawbridge being a civilian outfit. So obviously this is through someone that's doing donations and providing this capital and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of fleshes out.
They value their privacy.
Seriously? No better than to believe that bullshit.
It's the same deal as America. The people here are all spread out, cut off from one another. We want you to help us bring the world together.
So software, hardware, obviously the still the same stuff is being done. I'm sure that'll start first and then it'll kind of go different. They'll probably evolve the technology. I haven't seen, the handcuffs, which is the comm links. So obviously they're not part of the chiral network. So this might be a different one, but the same hardware is being used. And again, Kojima already mentioned that these are different continents that we're going to see. So this will definitely be outside of the US at this point, obviously.
Sam, would you mind if I joined you?
And of course, this kind of entails, this is another director, and I forget who it was. I actually am not familiar with this particular director. Everybody thought it was Timothy Chalamet, I think is his name, as the celebrity that was voicing him, but that was wrong. This is another director, at least Hideo Kojima confirmed it, and Hideo Tube, which basically goes to show we're still going to get a lot of probably celebrities. We're going to get a lot of different names, probably a lot of different famous people as porters and civilians and people that will experience and run into and, get 5 stars for, most likely for deliveries. Anyway, I'll shut up a little bit so we can watch more.
Humor him. His knowledge and experience will probably come in handy down the road.
Yes. Really, Sam? Your buttocks? What about shotgun?
See, he still has the BP pod, so... But of course, it's dark. You don't see BB in there or Lou. And I think BB is a BT in the pod helping Sam out at this point. That's my theory for this.
I prefer the driver's seat.
Sam, do you read me? You'll first need to access the Mexico side plate gate terminal.
Yeah, so Mexico obviously is probably the place for this one.
After we've confirmed network coverage,
is, not everybody wants to be part of the UCA.
That's not the plan, Sam. The UCA isn't looking to expand its borders. Just like with Mexico, they want to bring new regions into the network. Anyway, the DHV Magellan's here to back you up. As always, you'll be the one leading the way to expand the network.
So yeah, I think the Magellan is going to be obviously the main organization that runs with the drawbridge, a civilian outfit for this. As you can see, we got floating carriers, just like in the first one. He's carrying them along the sand dunes. What's also cool, and I won't talk during these different parts, but apparently there's going to be flooding, weather activity that will change the terrain as you're going through it. And it sounds like we're going to have a day-night cycle. At least I would think we would, because it's awesome.
What's your role in all this? You're the commander, huh?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only. You brought America together, helped it be reborn as the UCA. But I'm afraid the DeathStranding is far from over.
So the interesting part will be not only when you put things that are connected to the network. I think if we want to keep everything kind of as part of, kind of the terrain, like the bridges and everything like that, maintenance is going to be super important, because if weather comes through, timefall destroys it, obviously, but there's going to be more things that are going to cause destruction for all these things. And it's going to be a crazy show, but I look forward to it. I can't wait.
Humanity is still in danger. Still on the brink of extinction.
Kojima did mention that these were BTs, so it's a different form of BTs, which should be interesting. It's probably different type of BTs in different regions, different environmental, kind of variables and factors. So it'll be a bit more interesting how to solve these problems as you traverse through the land. So
don't act like you don't see it.
And I can't help but stop here, because what would be the ultimate if this happens towards the end, kind of like a little bit of like Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy IV and all those different ones, where you eventually get off planet and go and make connections to the moon. But that's way further down the line. I would they never do talk about the history of lunar landings or anything like that. So theorizing that, maybe we already have a base up there that needs deliveries and connections with the chiral network would be so interesting. But can you think about Death Stranding 3 in space? Oh my god, that would be so cool. I would totally be down for that. I want to go on Mars or the moon or all the different planets for deliveries. Why not? Might as well expand on it. This would be a huge franchise method that they could do it. But this reminds me of it every time when I see this.
A lot of things changed after you went off on your own, especially within the UCA. Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network.
Yeah, and there's a little parrot cat thing. So apparently it's supposed to be a nod or reference to Captain Hatchcock or something like that. Kojima mentioned it in Hideo Tube earlier about with George Miller's character.
They withdrew once things were up and running. So your friends and co-workers all went their separate ways. Within network coverage, there's no need to rely on human porters anymore. So after I closed up shop, I went and started a new group. One that handles work in regions outside the UCA. We decided to call ourselves Drawbridge.
So interesting enough, that's why Fragile is no longer Fragile Express, because obviously everything's connected in the U.S., so they're going outside of it. And when I say U.S., I mean UCA, North America there. Well, really it's the USA, not North America, because Canada and Mexico will probably be included in it. But that's why she did the stuff that she did with what she's mentioning.
With the support of the chiral network and APAS, humanity will be free from the need to move around.
This is awesome. This was a thing that Kojima mentioned that you can do. Because obviously it kind of sucked when you had to drop all your stuff or everything got knocked around. You can actually drop your backpack here. Now, if you can make all your packages go in that single backpack, that's great. It would be nice if there was like a select multiple so you can drop them in one area into that one backpack and then do your combat and come back and pick it up. But that's what he mentions. He didn't go into a lot of detail in HidioTube, but he did mention that you'll be able to drop it, do your things, do your combat and all that, and then pick it back up afterwards.
Bots are capable of handling deliveries.
He's alive.
He called himself a ghost, but
We found a way back from the beach just so he could kill us.
See, this is why I think Higgs perished and died. Because, I mean, he was humiliated and beaten up and kind of taken care of, but he wasn't, I don't know. I don't think he was fully confirmed killed. Maybe he was. It's been a bit since I've seen the ending. But Higgs is obviously back, and I think it's part of that process where they're able to bring these people back from the beach and onto the world, and I think he's part of that.
he said he came back to get revenge on you and me.
Hey, brother.
So yeah, he had the mask there. Obviously, they cut it in that first piece, and then they extended it here with, obviously the clown miming look and stuff. But anyway, I'll let it play a little bit, and then we'll talk more.
Did you miss me? Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent. With guns and violence, the whole damn world could be yours. Same as it ever was. Oh. Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round. Well, I suppose even a porter has to pull the trigger from time to time. Oh, what about you? Hey, buddy. Are you just another soulless little husk, huh?
Let go of me! Pathetic guitarist. Where's the rest of your band?
So interesting enough, in HidioTube, Kojima mentioned that even though there's a lot of questions being asked, he couldn't say anything. But anyway, let's back up a little bit. So he mentions that he's just kind of fruits of the labor to say, throughout the everywhere. I think his organization is more like a PMC group a little bit, almost like a private military company, but not really. It's probably more like mercenaries or anything, just causing violence and guns and movement and stuff like that. So I think that's what more or less he's doing, just to cause a bit more chaos and chaotic. And maybe that's why he looks a little bit like a mimer Joker. But he also mentions his little statement saying that he's another like soulless, I want to say soulless puppet, meat puppet type of thing. But Kojima was very firm in HidioTube that he couldn't really talk about it. So this little puppet here, I think, is not the only of its kind. He mentions you're going to find out how this puppet became to be, which I think there's more. I think there's another set of either puppets or set of kind of life forms that do that and have that from their different beaches maybe. And we're going to find out the origins of those guys more when it comes to this game. I love how expanded this is going to be. It should be fun.
Well, ain't that something?
Was it you, Higgs? Huh? Was it you that killed Lou?
So I think here, obviously, so let's dissect this a little bit. So Higgs is touching BB's pod, like a bridge baby. He was a little bit surprised and shocked and said, "Ain't that something?" when he was holding on to it. So I think that's a real emotional like realization. So for him to realize and think that, hey, BB or Lou is not in there and that's a BT, I think, is a realization that he is a little surprised and shocked by it. So I don't think Lou being killed was killed by Higgs and his group. I really do think it was another organization. I'm assuming it's probably going to be some extension of someone from the UCA for some reason, probably not happy of things, but that's just conjecture of getting revenge on Sam, because obviously he's the legendary porter that everybody knows about, and I think his reputation will go across somewhere that somebody isn't going to like the way that things turned out. Obviously Higgs is a terrorist and was in the first. There's going to be more players later, I would assume.
You still don't know, do you?
So that guy obviously teleported around somehow. Either he inhabited some of the soldiers there or something to get to where he was, but he moved around there, so that'll be interesting to see. And again, there couldn't be any confirmation from Kojima on this. He was pretty tight-lipped about it when he was watching this with everyone else. With the voice actor that for Sam in the localization for Japan, his voice acting there as well.
Something he said. You don't know a goddamn thing about.
So yeah, interesting thing is, you notice he's got the detection on his face with the guy he's fighting, and that must mean that maybe this is a particular BT that can inhabit bodies and transform into that. That's what I'm assuming with that. So obviously the BT itself is detecting Higgs' back because he's probably got some necrosis or some revenants there. So this kitchen scene is interesting because it's Sam actually preparing breakfast, or food or cleaning, which further kind of proves the point that obviously Lou's on another beach and not with them. And who knows, Lou's probably messing around with this toy. That's going to come up here in a sec.
Lou.
All right, Sam. Let's see what we can find on Lou.
See, it's the same dolphin toy. So I think Lou, as a BT, still kind of goes around and not necessarily haunts, but probably gives his love and affection to Sam in this real world as a BT itself, moving things around.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to find them yourself. But the ones you do find...
So that's Troy Baker as Higgs's character talking, and we assume it's probably Sam because it's focused on him. I think they're actually going to team up to a bigger, more awful, terrible thing, and he's going to tell him more ways, maybe give him some insight into how BTs and other beaches work, because it feels like there's a bit more relation there in the way that they're talking. But this is the scene that I think, let's just watch it real quick and then I'll explain that.
Well, that pain you nurse will only get worse. Sam the man in the dark about everything.
And again, I think that is Lou on his own beach, where Sam is able to either transport either through the help of Fragile or something to be able to go see Lou. He is a repatriarch, so maybe he could go back and forth depending. But I think he's going to go to his own beach to be able to see Lou and see Lou either get better, grow up, or whichever. I just have a hard time believing Lou's going to be completely absent and those are just flashbacks. I don't think that's the case. I think he's got his own beach.
Don't forget, coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on. And you have.
And it's called On the Beach. I mean, come on.
Now it's time to finish the journey, Sam. Please understand, Sam. We never meant to string you along.
That chrysalis we found.
So again, yeah, Kojima keeps saying to reference the smoke there, and I know some folks have theorized a little bit about it. I think it goes back to kind of the whole idea of beaches, beach things, death, despair, all that stuff related to the Egyptians and kind of the necrosis and all that stuff. So I think that's what's in reference to. And again, this is Ellie Fanning, but even though I know she's got blonde hair, Elle Fanning, I think is her official name. I probably got that wrong through the whole thing, but it would be so cool if the story element was that she was Mama's child and they brought back. Man, it'd be quite the story arc if that was the case.
Under inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
Ta and Ka. Yeah, that's also another reference. But yeah, she is the one that they found in the beginning. This one they're going to show next is a different person, different thing. So we'll see about that.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar?
So the thing that Kojima mentioned in the Hideo tube was that this particular being, this person that they have there that's floating, is not really floating. She's being tugged on by strands. So she's connected to either multitude of beaches, connected to something on the beach thing or on the other side of it. And they're trying to figure that out, I think, as part of this whole thing. Again, he was very tight-lipped about this person as well. He didn't say much from what I remember from Hideo Tube. But again, it's the same. They're doing kind of the same operation, cleaning them up. And I think trying to bring them back from a beach into the real world, just like with Elle Fanning's character.
As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
All right, you notice that? This kind of furthers that point a little bit. So as we move, let's see if it'll show it there. Right there. So you notice the threads. It's the same threads that Elle Fanning's character is. So it's a same connection with this other being that they brought back. So it's going to be the same thing, I think, in this case. Because that is threads right there that's connected to her. So I think they're bringing these folks back from beaches and bringing them back to the real world, but they're still probably connected to that beach somehow. That's why I think the strands are there, but we'll see.
You see, after you left Bridges, I decided to do a little digging. Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
So that's interesting. So I think there's going to be another BB in the mix. Obviously, that's Dead Man, Guillermo del Toro's character from the first one. Kind of given the realization about this BB that was set for destruction. Sounds like that wasn't the case, that this BB is still alive. And who knows, maybe that's what it was in reference to with the BB there with actual bubbles. I still think it's Lou in BT form, but who knows? That could be another pod that's actually glowing and, you know, awake, maybe to provide help to the team, and who knows? Sam Porter Bridges. Same bubbles and all that kind of stuff that's happening, so that's what's crazy about it. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this whole adventure. I just think I'm so excited for this stuff. I think it's just going to be freaking badass with Death Stranding 2. But yeah, if they did all of that stuff in relation to some of those edits and story elements and beats, oh my god, it'd be so awesome. Especially if Elle Fanning's character is, you know, Mama's daughter. That would be so cool. And having that connection, because that's the theme, right? So anyway, this is theory crafting, you know, theorizing story elements and Death Stranding 2 for the future. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll talk at you later.